regard to it. He has specified tithes and offerings as the measure of our obligation, and He desires us to give regularly and systematically. You cannot tell me that when you look in your bag for whatever is there, that's a systematic way of offering. You cannot tell me that on the Sabbath, where you have remembered to walk back into the house to go get an offering, that is a regular offering. And yet God calls us, and this fund should not in any case be devout to any other use. It is to be devoted solely to support ministry of the gospel. The last sentence, after the tithe is set apart, let gifts and offerings be appointed, as God hath prospered you. When I look in my pocket for whatever is there, I have no consideration of my entire income. What is in my pocket? It's absolutely on impulse, triggered by deacons who are coming up the aisle. And so impulsively, I look, and my daughters run to me and say, Daddy, you haven't given us anything. And I say, oh, Mdanam, I've forgotten. Next Sabbath, I will remember. But rather to when it comes to offering, is that when a tithe has been put together, which is stipulated as a tenth, the next consideration is the offering, according to the gift that God has given you. How many of us then, when we are prepared that Sabbath and we've prepared the offering, we are proud to put in that 100 note and we deem it a good offering? Or that, and we think that, no, this is a good offering. In fact, I've got 100 for Sabbath school, I've got 100 for divine service. But what was your income? And what then is that 100 rand in light of that income? We are not to consecrate rather to Him what remains of our income, after all real, imaginary wants are satisfied. But before any portion is consumed, we should set apart that which God has specified as His. Not when everything else has been paid off, not when everything else has been covered, but before the decision is made as to what belongs to God. Many persons will meet all inferior demands and dues and leave to God only the last gleanings, if there be any at all. If not, his cause must wait till a more convenient season. Bad time of the year. I can't give an offering. At least I've given tithe. It's December, the expenses and the Christmas gifts have not all come out of my budget. At least if I've given the tithe, God will see me at a better season with His offering. There's a song, some of us might not know it. It's number 14 in the Vernac. And I think it's there in Advent Hymn. I don't think it's there. It might have been written at a time where there were only pennies. It's not a call for us to bring coins as offering to God. If we would change things for now, we would say hwacha, hwacha, which is the sound that paper money makes. It wouldn't be dropping, but it would be a flow of offering. And if you doubted that this is meant, in fact, for children, you will see that in the third stanza, it says, now, while we are little, for pennies are our store, but we are, Lord, will give thee how much? Some of us were putting 1 rand when we were kids, we're still putting 1 rand now. Yet God calls for us to give according to His gift. When we look at how the Israelites used to offer, they had separate offerings that were stipulated for them to give for. In the book of Leviticus, chapter 1, we hear that they gave a burnt offering outside of tithe. Chapter 2, we hear that they gave a meat offering. Chapter 3, they gave a peace offering. Chapter 4, a sin offering. Chapter 5, the trespass offering. And yet, this was not all they had to give. However, this was not all. There were other offerings, such as giving towards the construction of the sanctuary or the temple, and offerings given during the Feast of Tabernacles. From this one can conclude that in the Hebrew economy, there were more offerings required than just the tithe. Next slide. I want us to read this. Could this then be instructive for us today that, rightly understood and everything being equal, offerings are supposed to be more than one tithe? Question mark. Not instruction, but question mark. Could it be that the offerings we are to return to God, based on the economy of the Israelites, are possibly more, or should possibly be more than the tithe? Could it be? And yet I want you to make a mental note, a mental calculation of what the percentages are in your offering from your tithe that caused him to give his son so as to express how much he loves us. Should it not then be a tangible expression of love for us to give an offering to God? To show our gratitude to God, do we realize that everything, every single thing we have and get and appreciate is from God? I mean, waking up in the morning, we are emulating and look at how he gives. And this should maybe be the premise from which we give. There are many reasons we can bring for giving. In fact, if we had time, we would have gone on and seen how in the gift which is Christ, the gift which is Jesus, one day we will look at one of the realities that causes us not to bring an offering, a faithful offering, an offering reflecting of what God has done for us. Because we love him. I don't doubt that. We want to give back to him and show gratitude. I don't doubt that. But in the book Counsels on Stewardship, it gives the major reason that causes us not to give an offering. It's a word that starts with a D. It follows with an E. It has a B. When you pronounce it, you don't know where the B features, but you know how it's pronounced. You see it and fly over and jump straight to the T. It's called debt. One of the major reasons that causes us not to offer. Maybe that one shouldn't be Sabbath school. It should be an afternoon where we tackle this issue called debt. It's amazing how practical God is. He knows even that which challenges us. And doesn't only mention it, he gives us guidelines on how to overcome it. But be scared on that day, because the first thing you'll hear is that just because of debt, you are not exempt from giving an offering. So the excuse we give that, God, you can see, Edgar's wants me, Woolworths is looking for me, West Bank for the car, FNB home loan. God says, before all of that, don't rob me, and you will see a blessing. May God bless us so that we may be like the ones spoken of in 2 Corinthians. The chapter is 9, and the verse is 7. Every man according as he purposeth. Some of us,